Well, hello, everybody. Hello, hello. I'll let you get settled in a little bit. I know we're going to have some people starting to pop in here. And because today is going to be a great training, I want to share with you exactly how I reduce my overeating patterns. And this is going to help you so much. I'm going to give you exactly what I thought about, and you can use my process that I went through to copy it and use it for yourself. And so that's what I'm really excited to share with you today. For those of you who do not know who I am, I'm Marna Thal. I'm the owner of thinwithin.com. I've been helping people lose weight for the last 24 years without dieting. And what I did years and years and years ago when I was in college is I got so frustrated with dieting. I was so terrible at dieting that I said to myself, how can I lose weight in a different way? And I thought, as a psychology student, I thought, you know what? If I wanted to become wealthy, I'd study the wealthy. If I want to lose weight, I'm going to study people who do not struggle with weight. And that's what helped me lose 38 pounds. It's helped thousands and thousands of people around the globe over these last 24 years. And I can't wait to help you today to really look at overeating. And I'm coming at it from the perspective of what I learned from the naturally thin, as well as the perspective of what I've learned through the psychological, cognitive, brain based science to help you. Okay. So, this is a training where you might want to have some paper. You might want to take notes because this is a really good one. I've got a lot to cover, and I'm going to give you the exact thing that I did to reduce my overeating by 90%, which is huge. Okay. So I've got notes. I'll be looking at my notes from time to time, and that's purposeful. I want to make sure I'm giving you everything that I carefully wrote down and making sure I'm not missing anything for any of you. For those of you who are joining me over the phone, welcome, welcome, welcome. So happy to have you. For those of you who are joining me here on Facebook, welcome. And for those of you who are going to be listening to the podcast or on YouTube, I want to thank you as well for being here. I want to give you lots and lots of good tools today. Feel free at any point, if you are in Facebook, to say hi, share with me. I always love seeing your comments. And I want this to be engaging for you and make a difference for your life and your body. So the more you engage with me, the more I know that you're really here, you're really doing the work, and you're really engaged. Okay, so when I was trying to lose weight, and even now, I have overeating moments. I used to think that in order for me to lose weight and keep my weight off, I could never have an overeating episode. I thought it was bad. I thought it was wrong. And I thought it was not okay for it to happen. And what I discovered when I started learning about the naturally thin is that they too have occasional overeats. The difference between me and those that were naturally thin is I would beat myself up like crazy after an overeating episode. I would think I was wrong. I would take myself off my, what I was trying to do. I would have a lot of negative self-talk, where when I started to look and understand the naturally thin and how they incorporate what they do when they overeat, it became very clear to me that when the naturally thin overeat, they just go, oh, that didn't feel great. I don't want to do that. Why did I do that? Okay, done. They just move on. It's not this big identity piece that it was for me, that, oh my God, I'm the worst person ever because I overate. Or, oh, I can't get in front of my weight loss. This is such a struggle. Because overeating, when you get in front of overeating and you stop overeating, it is such a huge aspect to helping you lose weight. If you're overeating at restaurants, if you're overeating on the weekends, if you're overeating throughout the day, then what happens is we're just putting a lot more food into our body than our body needs. It stores it as fat. It says, thank you so much. I'll use this when I need it. And we keep doing that. And then we never really need it, right? So we're going to get in front of your overeating today. I want to say hello, Barbara. Hi, Jade. Hi, Kristen. Nice to see you here. So happy to see you. So let's look at how to do this. I've spent 3 decades of my life interviewing the naturally thin. So I have a lot of information from them, and I have 3 decades of information, or 2.5 decades of information regarding what works for clients to get you to stop overeating. So here is what many of you, and I want you to tell me if you can relate. This is what I was doing when I was in the pattern of overeating. I would overeat, then I'd feel hopeless. I'd feel like a failure. I'd feel like I can't do this, that losing weight is hard. I'm never going to get in front of this, never get in front of my weight. I'd feel hopeless, and then I would start thinking things like this. Do you ever think this? I just can't stop myself from doing it. Food tastes so good, I just can't stop. This is so hard to get in front of. I'm never going to figure this out. I was on a roll the last few days, and I just ruined it. I'm just an overeater. I started to think of myself and my identity as just somebody who's an overeater. I'm so bad at this. I'm so bad at stopping when my body's satisfied. This is ridiculous. Why do I keep doing this? I started to have those thoughts that play out. And I want to know from you, what are your thoughts? If you engage in overeating patterns and tendency, what are you telling yourself from time to time when you notice yourself overeating? What are the words that you're telling yourself? Share with me. I'd love to see them. So the cycle goes like this. I'd overeat. And this is what many of you are doing too. You overeat, you feel like crap, you feel badly, you tell yourself that the whole slew of words that this is hard, this is difficult, you can't do this. And then one of two things happens. You either try to restrict your eating, or you feel like, you know what? I did such a terrible job. I just blew it today. So why not just go overboard here? And that overeating bleeds into the rest of the day. And even the next few days, it can. So that is not a strategy that's working. It's not a strategy that works, but we get in this loop. We get inside of this loop where we try to lose weight, we try to get in front of our overeating, and that just doesn't work from this standpoint. So what's going to work for you? I want to explore what I did that's going to help you today to reduce your overeating. I understood the core psychological component of the fact that our thoughts create our feelings and our feelings create our actions. If we come from that psychological, mind-based core concept that we use here at Thin Within all the time, then we know that your thoughts create your feelings, which then create your results. So if my thoughts created my feelings and my feelings were creating my results, then there were 3 ways for me to look at this. There were 3 ways for me to approach my overeating. And there's 3 ways for you to approach your overeating as well. 1, you could just change the overeating. Right? I could just be like, I was like, okay, I could just change the overeating. But that clearly wasn't happening. I would tell myself I didn't want to overeat, and then I would overeat. I would tell myself to stop doing it, and then I would do it. So that action, just to change it, wasn't working. Okay, so that led me to have 2 more options. 1, I could change my thoughts about my overeating, just like you can change your thoughts about your overeating, or I could change how I felt about my overeating, just like you can change how you feel about your overeating. Okay, so I knew that I wasn't just able to just stop the action of overeating. I was going to reverse it and see if this would help me reduce overeating a whole lot more than what I was doing before. So here's what I did that's going to help you. Okay, I chose to think different thoughts about when I overate. So when I would catch myself overeating, instead of saying all the things I was programming myself to say, instead I started saying things like this. And these you might want to write down because these are the exact statements that help me to begin to think differently about my overeating. So I started to say things like overeating is an opportunity to understand what's going on with me. Overeating is an opportunity to understand what's going on with me. Another thing I told myself is I don't have to make myself wrong about overeating. If I understand it, maybe I can get in front of it because I wasn't sure at that time. But that made sense to me. If I could understand my overeating, then maybe I could get in front of it. That was a thought that was believable to me, that felt really good to think, and was something I was open to exploring. The third thing I said to myself is when I overeat, I'm going to get curious, not critical of myself. I'm going to get curious. And then the last thing that I said to myself that was really helpful, that I recommend you writing down too, is my overeating is just something I've conditioned, which means that I can condition myself to be somebody who no longer overeats. My overeating is something I've conditioned, and I can condition myself to be somebody who also is somebody who no longer overeats. If you can condition yourself to overeat, you can certainly uncondition it and recondition yourself to be somebody who no longer is an overeater or who overeats a whole heck of a lot less. Okay, so those are my thoughts. I wanted to replace those old thoughts that I can't do it, I'm bad, I'm broken, this doesn't work, I'm always going to be an overeater, it's too hard to get in front of it, with these new thoughts that I want you to start looking at and exploring yourself. Okay. The second thing I did, number 2, first thing, changed my thinking, looked at my thoughts, and I looked at what I wanted to think instead. That was my programmed thinking. I hadn't programmed that in, but I knew that's what I wanted to think about this situation. One, I wanted to think that I could be somebody who no longer was overeating. I wanted to be somebody who no longer overate. And then these were the thoughts that helped me to begin to move into thinking about this differently. Okay? Second thing, I looked at my feelings. When I would overeat, like many of you, I'd love to hear, feel free to share with me, what do you feel when you overeat? What's the feeling that happens inside of you when you tell yourself you're not going to overeat, or you're at a restaurant, you're on the weekends with friends, you're by yourself, late at night, whatever it is, what is the feeling that you feel when you've put more food in your body than it needs and you feel like that distended, belly full, big feeling? What does that feel like to you? Does it feel amazing? Does it feel heavy? Does it feel uncomfortable? And what does it feel like to be somebody who's been an overeating person? I know for me, it made me feel hopeless. It made me feel like a failure. It made me feel frustrated, so frustrated with myself, so frustrated with my ways of showing up and my eating. What does it feel like to you? Because here's the thing, we have a choice about what we want to think and how we want to feel. At any point, we can choose a different thought or a different feeling. So if I could choose a different thought and I could choose a different feeling, those were the thoughts I chose. And then the feeling that I decided to choose, I want to share in a minute, but what did you all say? Yes, Rosaria, you said frustrated, defeated, angry. Yeah, because it is a defeated feeling. Hate myself for failing. Yes. Hate. Oh my gosh. So big. That's what the overeating does. That's what overeating creates inside of ourselves. When we do it over and over and over, we feel defeated. We feel angry. We start hating ourselves. We get frustrated. It's not pretty. And so, what I decided that I wanted to feel instead was excited. I was like, what if I could turn my hate for myself, my frustration, my pain, my anger, feeling like a failure into excitement? Okay, because I love feeling excited. That's just me. I love feeling excited. But here's how I had to do it. I had to think about, well, what's an exciting feeling? How can I feel excited about something that I just did that is making me bigger instead of thinner? And what I told myself was this. I said, if when I had an overeat, instead of feeling, Marna, like a fat failure, angry, frustrated, and disappointed in myself, what if I chose to feel excited about the opportunity to explore my feelings, about excited about the possibility that if I could really understand my emotional overeating patterns or just overeating patterns, then I could get in front of it and lose weight. So I got really excited about not myself overeating, but when I would have an overeating episode, I got excited about exploring what was going on, what was happening inside of my overeating episode. So I went from hating, feeling defeated, feeling frustrated, feeling angry, like you all are saying, to excited to explore what's going on, because in exploring what was going on, I could stop doing it. At least I was hopeful that I could. Okay? So hope and excitement led me to then explore these questions. Okay? So the second thing I did is I changed my feeling. Changed my thought, changed my feeling with these very specific things that I'm telling you. Then number 3, when I began to overeat, I'm going to share with you in the chat here the exact questions that I asked myself. Hope this helps you. When I overate, I began to ask myself these questions. What just happened? Oh, I was eating dinner and I saw the food and I didn't want to, it was so good, I didn't want to stop. I was at a restaurant and I was with a bunch of people and the food was so good, I didn't want to stop. Or whatever it might be. I just started to explore what just happened without judgment. None of this had any judgment. It had excitement and curiosity built in so that I could change this. Potentially. I wasn't sure, but it totally worked for me. Then I looked at what power was I giving food in that moment, like right now, right? I had an overeat. I'd be like, oh, what just happened? What power am I giving food? It's important. It's so good that I have to over consume it. It's so delicious that I can't stop. I was like, what power? I'm giving it so much power that it's this big, huge, powerful entity that I can't control. I wanted to know and understand it. And that's what I said. What happened? What power am I giving food right now? Is that power something I want to continue to give it? Do I want to keep feeding this beast of overeating, this power of food? And I was like, no, of course not. Of course I don't want to keep doing that. So then how could I practice lessening this food's power over me? How could I, the exact question I asked myself is, how could I practice lessening food's power over me when I eat my next meal or next meals? Here's the key about this. How could I practice? Not what would I have to do or how do I have to do this? It was nothing that put pressure on me. It kept the feeling of excitement and curiosity alive. How could I practice lessening food's power over me? How could I practice lessening food's power over me during this next meal or these next few meals? And it might be something like, you know what? I can practice lessening food's power over me. Halfway through the meal, I'm just going to take a deep breath. I'm going to check in. I'm going to tell myself I'm doing great. This is just food. I can always have more. I can always enjoy more later. I can put it away. I can always have this again. How can I lessen its power over me? And then I ask myself, were there unconscious thoughts that I could use to help me? I wanted to know, this is not exactly how I wanted to word it. Was there an unconscious thought that I was using that I wanted to be aware of? And then what new thought could I start using to help me possibly stop a little bit earlier? Okay. Then how is the extra food in my body? How is it making me feel? Was overeating on this food worth it? And if it was, okay, then I would just move on. If I said, you know what, this was just like a really special, like my birthday, I totally overate, but you know what, it was totally worth it, it's fine, I'd move on. But if I said, you know what, it wasn't worth it. Why? Why wasn't it worth it? Why isn't it worth it to overeat? I wanted to really explore why, because it's making me feel tired. It's giving me terrible energy. It's making me feel terrible about myself. It's making me feel frustrated, defeated, anxious, angry, hate towards myself. That is not how I want to feel. It's not worth it. And then the last thing I did is that I practiced seeing myself having that meal in a way that felt really good, that felt really naturally thin, where I could honor my satiation, where I could feel nice and satisfied. And I practiced redoing it, rewinding the meal experience in my mind and redoing it in my head. And by doing that, what I did is I reprogrammed in that moment what had just happened into something else that was better for my body, for my weight, for my health. And that's how I reduced my overeating by 90%. So let's review this a little bit. One, I knew that I couldn't just stop overeating. That wasn't working. So I chose to think different thoughts that would support me and support what I wanted to do and who I wanted to be, which is somebody who's not feeling compelled to overeat. So I looked at, what do I want to think about my overeating? What do I want to think about myself when I overeat? And I came up with those statements that I shared with you. Overeating is an opportunity to understand what's going on with me. My overeating is just something I've conditioned myself to do, so I can condition myself to do something else. And then I started to look at, what do I want to feel? Instead of going from feeling frustrated, defeated, angry, pain about this experience of overeating, what if I just got excited to learn what was going on in my head with my relationship with food, so potentially I could get in front of my overeating, which in fact worked when I did this. And then when I found myself overeating, I just started to ask myself some deeper questions to understand what was going on. Not to put pressure on me, not to tell myself I was wrong or bad, but to understand my relationship with food and my relationship with overeating and over consuming it. And then I use these questions as a way to really explore what in the world was going on with my eating. And what I started to do is I started to find that I was making food so big in my head. It was so much more powerful. I was giving it so much more energy than I really wanted to give food. Then food's just food. It's just laying there. Doesn't have a feeling. It was my feeling about stopping. It was my feeling about ending a meal. And it was my lack about stopping, like, oh my God, maybe I'll never have this again. Oh my God, I love this food so much. Okay, so you can have it again. When you're hungry, have it again. I was giving so much weight and power to the meal experience, to like, oh my God, this meal is amazing, versus I have the power to eat in a way that honors my body so I can stop when my body's satisfied. I was giving food way too much power. How many of you are giving food way too much power in your life? And because you're giving food so much power, so much energy, so much importance, it's like your whole day is navigated around what you're eating and how you're eating. Did I eat too much? And so much thought. Versus sitting at a meal, enjoying a meal, and stopping when your body just gives you this beautiful satisfaction signal. I learned that most of the time when I overate and I felt that fullness and bigness in my tummy, it wasn't worth it. And that once in a while it is. And that's where the naturally thin are in their relationship with overeating. It's once in a while, it happens rarely, and it's worth it for them most of the time to have a little bit more than their body desires. But because they are not overeating as a general rule, it's just so infrequent. They don't give it a lot of power. They don't give it a lot of thought. It's not a big deal. And I knew that that's who I wanted to be. I wanted to be somebody who could, yes, do it sometimes, put it in its place, not make it's a big deal, and move on. And fall in love with feeling satisfied, not overly stuffed and full. And when I started to explore and really gave myself that opportunity and the time to instead beat myself up, to instead use that time to explore and get excited about exploring, then all of a sudden what started to happen, little by little, I wanted to be somebody who stopped, and I started being that person who stopped. Earlier, easier. Does it still happen? Yes. Does my head sometimes spin out, or I don't think and all of a sudden I overeat? Yes. And I've got these questions that always help me. And I also now don't give it much thought, like, oops, next, move on. Because I know in my identity, and because I practiced this for so many years, I know I can just trust myself to stop eating when my body's satisfied. But learning to trust was something I had to program in. It didn't come because I was somebody who almost every single meal was overeating. 2 out of 3 meals I was overeating. So to become somebody who no longer did that, I had to reprogram in a new way of being. But I didn't do it through force. I didn't do it through punishment. I didn't do it through hate. I didn't do it through making myself feel bad. I did it through curiosity and excitement. I did it because I wanted to know and learn. So, are you open to using this process, this 4-step process, to reduce your overeating? Are you open? Here's what it takes. Being open to exploring it and looking at it. And if you're not open to exploring and looking at it, why? Why? Are you having conversations like it's going to take so much time, it's so much work, it's too difficult? Well, what if you explored one overeating episode a week? See, this thought work is so important. Working with your brain to help it lose weight is crucial. It makes the process last longer, deeper, and move through this process of gaining weight to losing weight so much easier and long lasting. So you can be somebody who stops when you're satisfied. In your identity, are you telling yourself, like I was, that I was just somebody who couldn't do it and I was just an overeater? It's not true. I had to give up. So I want you to share with me in the chat, what are you willing to give up? What statements are you willing to give up in order to become somebody who's no longer an overeater? And I want you to explore, are you willing to explore your overeating? And if not, why? What are you scared of? There's nothing scary about it. I promise you. You'll look at it, you'll explore it, you'll go deeper, you'll heal it, you'll transform it. And you will become somebody who no longer overeats at meals. Because you will want to be that person. You will choose to be that person. That person will be reprogrammed into your psychology and biology. So what are you having to give up? What are you open to facing? Are you open to facing your new inner world of being a non-overeater, somebody who no longer turns to food? It's so exciting to explore this. And so I wanted to give you all the gift today of the actual words that I used, the actual sentences that I said to myself, the actual tools that helped me to really reduce my overeating patterns. And I wanted to give you the exact precise formula that I used that's helped me and thousands of women around the globe. Sarah, you said, I realize that my resistance to positive thinking is because food does have a power over me. One meal at a time might be a start. One meal at a time is the start. And so place these questions by you. Go through this process. Look at what it is you want to think about yourself. You do not have to think you're bad, you're broken, there's something wrong with you when you overeat. You can use an overeating to go into curiosity. And if it's not excitement for you, then just use curiosity. Let me explore. Let me understand myself so I can change this. And if you don't believe you can change this, then explore this so that maybe you can change this, so that you can figure out if you can change this. But I know, after doing this for so many years, you can change this. You can change this. What's going to happen is you got to spend a little bit of time exploring what's happening inside of your space and relationship with overeating. Okay? So I want you to spend some time doing this work. It will change overeating patterns in your life forever if you're open to doing the work and asking yourself these questions when you overeat. Now, here's the thing. You don't have to catch every overeat for this to be effective. This is something you can do. Oh, I catch one overeat a week. It will improve things for you. One overeat caught 1 week, one overeat the next week, and whatnot. And you will start to explore, but you've got to be committed to exploring. You've got to allow yourself and your brain the opportunity to be reprogrammed. But we do that through thoughts, and we do that through feelings, so that you can create a different action for you and your body. I love that you said, I'm so excited about the next time I want to overeat. I have so much to explore. Thank you. Yay! That's how I want you to feel. I want you to get excited about your overeats so that you can explore them, transform them, and lose weight. And if you want more tools like this, where we really dive in, then the 30-day challenge is coming up. It's coming up in October, and registration is coming up soon. So if you want to get your name on the wait list, I'm going to give you the link here in the comment section. And if you haven't done so, get your name on the 30-day challenge waitlist. It doesn't mean you're taking it. It doesn't mean you're saying, oh my gosh, I'm absolutely going to do it. What it does is it lets you know when I open doors. And what I always do when I open doors for the 30-day challenge, I first open doors to those who have taken the challenge before as a way to say thank you and to give them first opportunity to get in. Then I let all of you know who are on the wait list next about doors opening so that you can grab a spot in there if you want. Inside of the 30-day challenge, we're going to explore overeating. We're going to explore hunger. We're going to explore eating like a naturally thin person and giving you mental tools that are going to really help you to transform your relationship with food. So people always ask me, well, in the 30-day challenge, are you giving me recipes? Are you telling me what I'm going to eat? Are you going to give me those things? No, I don't give any of those things. I teach you how to relate to food differently. I teach you what I learned after 3 decades of interviewing naturally thin people to understand these big themes that they almost all shared with me that they do to maintain a thinner, lighter, healthier body. When I started copying them, I lost weight. Thousands of women now have lost weight as well, doing the same thing. And so in the 30-day challenge, I teach you that. I teach you the core principles that I learned from the naturally thin. Will you lose all of your weight in the 30-day challenge? Probably not. But it will set you up on a path to absolutely start thinking and eating and living differently. So if you'd like to join me or at least learn more when doors open, then I encourage you to get on the wait list because I would love the opportunity to coach you, train you. We do Zoom trainings throughout the 30-day challenge. We do them twice a week with me live, and we go through 30 days to really kickstart your weight loss in a very new way without dieting. And the results are unbelievably incredible. It's one of my favorite things I do besides the inner circle. And I just really am so, so excited to have you participate if you haven't taken the challenge yet. So get your name on that, and then it will help you grab a seat when those doors open. All right, so today and this week, if you want to explore your overeating patterns and transform it from hating yourself, being frustrated with yourself, being angry at yourself, to an opportunity of being excited, passionate, curious, so you can really get in front of your overeating and reduce it by 90%, then this is the formula that you can use today and into the days ahead. All right, everyone, have an amazing. Oh, Paula, thank you for saying the 30-day challenge is so worth it. Yes, it is. It is. Have an amazing day, everybody. Have a great, great week. Practice this, play with this, be kind to yourself. You are amazing. There's a reason why you've gained weight. And if you explore and look at this work, you can ease your way out of this weight too. All right. Have a good one, everyone. Talk to you soon. Bye.